Recovery on Air, the official podcast of Crossroads Addiction Rehabilitation. Candid discussion about addiction and recovery with the people who have lived it, along with input from experts on the journey from struggle to triumph. Laugh, cry, and be inspired. And now, your host for Recovery on Air, Kristen Day.
Good morning, and welcome to another episode of Recovery on Air, where we talk about the good, the bad, the miracles. Today's guest is actually really near and dear to my heart. This is my husband's sponsor, Mr. Terry Murphy himself, the man, the myth, the legend. Hi. Thank you so much for coming on and just being here and sharing your time with me. I absolutely love you. You've helped my husband in many, many ways, so I appreciate it. And you coming in here, and we were talking off air on some of the things that you taught him, and what's your thing? What do you call Donna, your wife?
My smoking hot wife, Donna.
I'm telling you.
Been married to her for 47 years.
47 years.
It's amazing.
Wow.
And it's gotten better than it was. Every aspect better than it was, even as newlyweds.
Right. And how long you been sober?
I just celebrated 35 years on Saturday, which was super cool. So I'm 70 years old.
Right.
So this was really significant. To be 35 years sober means I've been sober half my life. Half my life I've been in the rooms of recovery, trying to give back freely what was given to me.
Amen.
When somebody 12-stepped me into a new way of life. It's
so amazing. You are everything I aspire to be when I grow up. You know what I mean?
Don't grow up.
You are absolutely amazing. And if they're not doing, or if they're doing recovery and they don't know who Terry Murphy is, then they ain't doing something right, because you are everywhere. And I want to get in, before we start talking about the good stuff, I want to talk about like what it was like, getting, growing up and all of that. What was childhood like?
Well, I'm really fortunate, right? I'm number 9 out of 10 kids.
Oh,
I came out of
okay.
an Irish Catholic baby factory.
Gotcha.
And as a little boy, I used to love to run. I could run, I could hurdle, I was really good at all sports, but I especially was gifted at running and hurdling.
Okay.
And so I lived on a steep street, and me and my little brother would run, and we'd jump over everything. We'd yell, "Jumping partners to the end," and we'd roll in the grass. And all it took to set my soul on fire was a summer day, eating fruit off the trees, drinking water out of the hose, just being so alive.
What it was like.
And then my mom got sick with cancer when I was 11.
Okay.
And she got really sick. And when she got sick, the wheels started to come off my life, right?
Absolutely.
And shortly thereafter, it's the 1960s and drugs and having so many older siblings, right?
Sure.
It was like everybody was tripping, everybody was doing something, it seemed. And I got caught up in it, right? So I started doing narcotics when I was 12.
Wow.
Right? And I remember overdosing the first time in either the 7th or the 8th grade, right?
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
And it was just so bad. Like anything I could do to kill the pain that I felt about what was happening in my home life. Yeah. And but it wasn't just that, right? Every kid in my neighborhood, right? There's a great rock and roll song that says the kids aren't all right. That describes my neighborhood, right? I lived in a town that on the outside looked like the perfect place in America, but on the inside it was filled with tension, racial violence, drugs, alcohol.
Wow.
Just wild place. Like the ice cream man in my neighborhood sold dope.
Sold dope out of the ice cream truck.
So all us little kids who go up there, some kids who go get ice cream, right? But for $1, you could get a rack of Reds or a roll of Whites, right? So 10 crosstops for $1, right, as a little kid. So
For some people that don't know, what are crosstops? And
It's crystal meth.
okay,
It's meth in a pill form.
got you.
So it was just, my life started to disintegrate, right?
Spiral, for sure.
And then I had like one of the most traumatic moments of my life, and that was, I love my mom with all my heart, and watching her get sicker and sicker was really terrible.
Sure.
So dope gave me some relief, right?
Numb those pain.
And all my friends were doing it, and so it was just socially acceptable.
Right.
And then what happened is we got busted at school.
Okay.
Some of the kids rolled on me, and I remember being called into the principal's office, right?
Like, oh, shit.
Her name was Sister Ann Carita at a Catholic school,
Yes.
Immaculate Conception in Monrovia, California. And I'm called into her office, and there are other nuns there. And they said, we know that you've been doing those Red Devils, because it was Seconal, right?
Okay.
Which Seconal's not even sold anymore. It had
Right.
no useful purpose other than to make you stumble. Wow. And she said to me, we know that you've been doing drugs. The other kids told on you. And if you will admit to it, we're not going to tell your mother.
Ooh.
Because your mother is my mom, like, you got to picture this, Kristen.
Yeah.
So I'm number 9 of 10 kids.
Yeah.
So we would go to church every Sunday. My dad at the front of the line, or my mom at the front, my dad at the back, all 10 kids by age, following them in.
Wow.
And that's just how it was, right? And so everybody knew my parents, and they knew the struggles with my mother's cancer, and all the sisters said, we're praying for your mom and all that. So that day they told me, if you tell the truth, then the truth, they quoted the Bible. And in the Bible it says the truth shall set you free. And they said, so if you tell the truth, we're not going to tell your mother, because we don't want to add to that poor woman's suffering.
Right.
So now by then I'm already a street hood,
Yeah.
right, with my little street gang, the Ivy Street Gang, and we're raised in hell. And you already knew the code of the streets. You don't ever tell the truth.
You don't ever tell the truth.
But I went to it because I wanted to protect my mom. And so I said, yes, sisters, I've been doing drugs.
Wow.
And they said, okay, well, don't do that again.
Okay.
And
It was just a smack on the hand and...
that's what I thought,
Yeah.
right, until I got home.
Okay.
And then my mom said, come here, I need to talk to you. And she was a proud Irish woman, right?
Right.
And back then, there was no permanent press. Everything had to be ironed or it was wrinkled. And she takes me back into the laundry room, and she's ironing, and she says, the sisters came by today, and they told me that my son is a filthy doper. And she said, I can't believe the shame you brought on me.
Wow.
She said, the shame you brought on your father. And if I tell your father what you've done, he will beat you to death.
Yeah.
And even though you deserve that beating, I need him to feed the rest of these kids. And then she went through everyone. She goes, the shame you brought on your father, the shame you brought on your sister Kathy, on your brother John and Jim and Rita and Moore and Brian and Michael and Colleen and Kevin. And she said, you're going to carry this secret to your grave. A grave you put me in early. Now get out of here, you make me sick. And that was the extent of my drug and alcohol treatment as a 12-year-old boy.
Wow.
I walked out of that room feeling so small.
Right.
So broken, right? And like that was the first real consequence of my drug use, right? Before it was fun.
Right.
Well, the fun left.
Right.
But I don't know whether it's hereditary or you grow into it or I did too much dope, whatever it was. When I walked out of there that day, I knew just what to go do.
Right.
And that was go find some dope.
Yeah.
Right.
Go get
Something
high.
to numb this horrible feeling.
Right.
Now, I got to tell you, though, how much do I love being in this program and what it's done for me in my life. So I walked through my entire life thinking that my mother's last words to me were, get out of here, you make me sick.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a load to carry, right?
Right, for sure.
And I was 50 years old. 50 years old, so 15 years sober at that time.
Wow.
And I was in meditation at a retreat, and I heard my mother's last words.
Wow.
And her last words were, when I would come home from school, I would get like vitamins and mix it with oatmeal, and I would feed my mom with the eyedropper. her cancer had broken off, and I think it's called an embolism.
Okay.
And she hadn't spoken for months. And she would just lay in bed and make noises, right? And so I would, as a little boy, I'd go feed my mom. And so I'm giving her the eyedropper one day, and I'm trying to put it in her mouth, and she's going, and she won't take it, right? Well, I start to get really upset because I know she's going to die, and if she dies, I'm not ready for this.
Right.
And it's like, and I look at her and go, Mom, what? What are you saying, Mom? And she went, I love you, baby. Those were her last words. And I've given that a lot of thought, Christian. And here's the thought. Why did it take so long for me to hear the truth? And I think it's because addiction had rooted itself so deeply into my spirit that addiction, fuel for addiction is pain and shame and guilt and regret.
For sure.
It isn't like, I love you, baby.
Right.
I love you, baby is fuel for God, right? It's fuel for recovery.
For sure.
And so that's kind of like my childhood, you know. It was a wild ride, right? And right after she died, my dad sold the house.
Wow.
Shipped my little brother to Arizona, and it was just me and my father, and we were virtual strangers in a little apartment across town. Wow. Like literally a house teeming with kids. My whole world had just gone upside down.
Right.
And so I did what I knew to do, which is
get high.
Get high.
Yeah. How old were you when your mom passed away?
She died right after I turned 15.
Wow.
Those some wicked years, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Those some wicked years watching her get sicker and sicker. And then the other side was watching the effect, right? So watching what it did to my siblings. Like they just were all like, nobody knew what to do.
Right.
And I got to share this with you. So recovery's changed my life in so many ways, right? So when I first got sober, I wrote my father not an apology letter, a letter of forgiveness in treatment.
Okay.
Right? Mm-hmm. So I was in treatment. It was Father's Day, 1991.
Yeah.
And they go, you know, how's your relationship with your mom and dad? My mom died in 71. My dad died in 89. Me and my dad never got along. He was a stern disciplinarian. He'd use the strap to beat sense out of his kids, stuff like that. And so I said all this stuff. They said, well, we want you to write a letter of forgiveness to your dad, forgiving him for everything he failed to do.
Right.
So I took the pen and I put it to paper, right?
To paper.
And I'm a pretty good writer.
Yeah.
So when I read it to all the other newcomers in my small group at the counselor, it was like, you know, I forgave my dad for everything that he didn't develop my athletic abilities, that all of the things that he failed to do. Mm-hmm. And when I read it, all of the people in my small group were moved to tears by it. Like, oh, you poor dude, right?
Yeah.
Well, I found that letter when I was 2 years sober.
Wow.
And I read it. And so my dad died in 89. I got sober in 91. And in 1993, I found that letter. Wow. And I read it and I realized that everything in it was a lie, even though I hadn't lied. So what had changed?
Yeah.
Was it my dead father, or was it recovery had changed me?
Recovery
in the way,
changed
yeah,
you.
recovery had changed me, right? I'd become a father.
Yeah.
I started to like help out with the kids. I started to be a real husband.
Yeah.
And so I've just got so many experiences of healing grace. And I did ask my dad before he died, I said, did Mom ever tell you about me doing that dope? And he said, no, she never
So she
did.
took it. She took it and hid it that whole time. Wow.
She hid it the whole time from him.
Wow.
But the power of prayer and meditation, the power of recovery. So I didn't know I had these wounds in me, right? I don't go through my life, what's my wound? You know, how am I? It's just the longer you stay sober, time matters because time is a healer.
Absolutely.
And it gives me a chance to like, the healing grace of a loving God seems to settle in.
Yeah.
And I got to see what happened. I'd always wondered, how did those nuns betray me like that, right? How did they, because it really turned me against God and the church,
For
right?
sure.
Because it was like, don't ever trust religious people.
Right.
They will
They're
betray
going to
you.
lie.
Right.
They're lying.
Yeah, exactly. So that was my feeling. And so I was in meditation again. and now you can't steer meditation, right?
For sure.
I can't control what I think about if I close my eyes. I can, meditation is just where we listen for whatever God wants to bring.
Yes.
And I was in meditation. Obviously, I needed this healing. Mm-hmm. And I saw the scene. It was like I was
right in it
a
again.
drone up above my house, my
Wow.
childhood home. And I saw the nuns in their black habits walking away. And I saw my mother. And that day in school when I had overdosed, I was writing a school paper. And I kept dropping the paper and the pen, and the other kids are trying to hold me up. And I'm like, I'm OD, and they don't know what's happening. Think about this. This is the 1960s.
No Narcan, no nothing
nobody,
like that. Yeah.
Right, the world was not ready for child addicts. It's not ready for them now, let alone back then. And so I'm falling out, and I'm scribbling on the paper, and the nuns had gotten that paper.
Yeah.
And so I see them walk away from the house. And I see my mother holding that paper. Wow. And I get this view of it, and it looks like it's written by a feral animal. Mm. And I looked at it, and it really scared me because I realized how out of control I was at such a young age. And I watched my dying mother take that letter, and she kissed it, and she put it in the family Bible. And my mom gave me to God. Way before recovery introduced me to a God of my own understanding.
Wow.
So, man, I love this stuff.
Yes, that gives me goosebumps.
Yeah, it gives me too. I feel it.
Yes, absolutely. So, did you go to treatment when you were younger? No?
Nothing.
Got you.
There was no such thing as treatment. There was, you would get discipline, right?
Right.
So
I was going to say, get your ass beaten.
Basically, and my dad did the best that he could.
For sure.
To be the best possible father he could be.
Right.
He didn't know how to relate to me. I didn't know how to relate to him.
Yeah.
We were it was like living with a total stranger.
Right.
But I can assure you that as a result of my sobriety, I've been able to look back with new eyes. And I now can tell you that today, although I had written that letter forgiving him, I can tell you that today I'm incredibly proud to be the son of James Richard Murphy. My dad was a great man.
Yeah.
Right? But in my disease, I cheated on my woman. In my disease, I robbed my children's piggy banks. I stole their college money and turned it into dope.
For sure.
Right? I had been bankrupt. I had had my wife's car repossessed.
Yeah.
I've done all this horrible stuff. And I look back on my father. And my father was true to his wife.
Gotcha.
And my dad was so frustrated, though, and I thought about it from his perspective. He was madly in love with my mother. She looked like Elizabeth Taylor. She was a stunningly beautiful woman.
Yeah.
And he loved her with all his heart.
Yeah.
And he was pissed that she was dying.
Right.
Because they had put off everything till tomorrow. Everything when the kids are gone, we're going to have
We're
our
gonna
life.
do this.
It's going to be our time to be together the way we want to be. And obviously they had a strong attraction to each other because they had 10 kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so he was losing his partner, his best friend, his
felt
lover.
like he was robbed.
Yeah, he was. He really was.
I feel
really
those.
was.
God.
I've never heard those words used to describe that, but that's exactly
Honestly,
what happened to him.
It is. And the reason I describe it like that is that's how I feel what's going on with my mom right now. You know what I mean? With stage 4 cirrhosis of the liver. And, her and my dad had these plans that they're going to sit in their rocking chairs and get old and watch, the sunset. And now that she's not doing well, he's angry. He's angry and he feels like he's being robbed. And I feel like I'm being robbed too of this relationship and getting to do these things with her that we wouldn't be able to do, So it's... Ugh.
Wow, you're bringing me to tears.
I know. I'm like, God.
But you know what you get to do is you get to be there in as loving a way as possible until the last moment.
And I got to buy them their rocking chairs because we don't know what's going to go on. Wednesday we have an appointment for a transplant doctor. I don't know what's going to happen, but I know God is going to be there, and what's meant to be will be. And I got to give him the rocking chairs for Mother's Day and Father's Day, and, let them sit out there and enjoy it while they can. So
that is so beautiful.
Absolutely.
What a cool thing to do. So that speaks volumes. That says more about your recovery than any of the meetings you do in the jails or prisons or the work that you do at Crossroads.
Yeah.
Because that's where we practice it, right?
For
in
sure.
our home, where we can show the love and tolerance to them. And that's a really tough thing that they're going through.
It
and your
is.
whole family's going through it.
It is.
I'm no stranger to walking through those fires, right? And being 70, you get to experience a few along the way.
And you've seen, I was going to say, and you've seen a lot in your sobriety. I mean, rest in peace, Steve and Bonnie and all of that. Like, I know that was really hard going through that, but man, it's wild. So you and Donna get married, have some kids. Now, you've been married 47 years. So that means you were on a sick one for a little bit.
Yeah, 12 and a half years in the marriage under the influence.
Wow.
Not all the time, though, right? I'm a good person. I just have a bad disease.
Absolutely.
So when I met her, I told her, come with me. I'm going to throw you on the back of my steed. We're going to have adventures. And we did.
Yeah.
Just not all good ones.
Right.
But, it's like we conquered the world.
Absolutely.
We had this wild love affair. We just enjoyed being with each other so much.
Yeah.
And then what I didn't know was that I was an addict.
Okay.
Right? I had no idea. I had no idea from my childhood, even though it's like not normal for 12-year-old boys to take the drug Seconal is so strong. If I gave one red to you, you wouldn't be able to walk out of the building, right? But yet I'm taking 4 of them as a little boy because of the building up of the tolerance, right? And so I had no idea why I built my life up, because I was I had a lot of skill. I was accepted into a college prep school, a really exclusive school in Sierra Madre, California, and I stayed there for 2 years till they asked me not to come back, right, because of all my behaviors and all of the substance abuse. But I had this skill, and I was a dreamer. And there's a line in a Rolling Stones song that says, if you lose your dreams, you lose your mind, because life's unkind.
Right.
And I knew that, right? I knew life was unkind.
Yeah.
And so I got busy building companies. And like
what did you do for a living?
Well, I'm an entrepreneur is what I am, right? So I started my first company in Texas.
Okay.
And it was a waterbed and bedroom furniture store. It was great. Our manufacturing company was called Rest Assured. The waterbed companies were called Southern Comfort Waterbeds.
Wow.
And then our logo is "We build the beds America screws on." And so we just had so much fun with that stuff, right? And I built up a really successful company, and then I discovered cocaine, right? And champagne, and that combination was pretty devastating.
Right.
And before long, I have to borrow the money. Now I've got 2 custom homes. I buy Donna a BMW. I've got a Porsche. I got a boat, a van conversion. I got everything on the outside, nothing on the inside.
Right.
I own none of it. Everything's on credit.
Wow.
And I have to borrow the money from my little brother to run a U-Haul to flee Texas with drug dealers looking for me. And it's just a bad scene.
Yeah.
And so me and Donna, we get back now. You talk about humbling. We're now living in her childhood bedroom of her mom and dad's house.
Wow.
Before, I've got custom homes overlooking lakes, and now
you're there.
I'm there. And it's like, okay.
How many kids do you have at this point?
None.
None yet.
And so what Donna said is, she goes, you know what, I think we ought to put down the drugs and maybe drink a little wine now and then, some champagne at New Year's.
And Donna's a normie.
Yeah, she's a normie. She is such a wise woman. She says, let's have some kids.
Okay.
And I said, I've always wanted to have a family. I wanted to have 5.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, it was hell to coax 2 out of her because of my behaviors. I know if I had acted right, I probably could have gotten 5 or 10.
Right.
But it just wasn't to be, right? So that's when Donna first realized something was different about me.
Okay.
Because I meant that it was over with.
Yeah.
Right? I meant I'm done. I'm not going to drink and drug anymore. I'm going to go to work. We're going to raise a family. It's always been my dream, right?
Yeah.
And so, when my son's born, I get to hold him up to the rising sun like Lion King. Wait on. It's like, damn, and it's like so good.
Yeah.
And then she discovered that she could stop and I couldn't. And so my whole life was kind of, if you were to graph it, it'd be build it up, tear it down. Build it up, tear it down. Build it up, tear it down. Right. And all the while, I have no idea why I'm doing this, right? Why am I hurting the people that I love so much when I love them so much?
Right.
I couldn't understand it. I had no idea. I had never met a single person who had ever gotten sober. That's why what you're doing, Recovery on Air, is so important, because the ears that get to hear this may be able to identify with something that's said here today or in your other episodes, and they'll realize, maybe that's me. I had no idea. It's hard to believe. I was 35 years old and had never met a single person who had ever gotten clean. Wow. Everybody I knew went to prison, to the graveyard, or they kept on partying on, right?
Wow.
No matter what. And all of my brothers and sisters party like I do. Not all, but most of them go as hard as I do, right?
Gotcha.
I have a little brother who can drink and drug with anybody on earth, right? And then he'll smoke cigarettes when he's drinking, but then he puts the cigarettes away and doesn't touch them till he drinks next time.
Gotcha.
They all had something I didn't have.
Yeah.
And that was a stop button.
Right.
They all knew when it was time to, go
Shut
home.
it down and go home.
Shut it down, get some rest, go to work in the morning.
For sure.
And I just missed that. I didn't come with one of those stop buttons.
So you got sober in 91. There was a lot probably in between. And when did you have enough? Like, when was enough enough? What had happened?
I had no idea what was wrong with me. So I internalized everything. And so I was convinced that the very best thing I could do was kill myself.
Okay.
That was the way out, at least because I was so ashamed of myself, right? So I've quit. I know how to quit. I had quit hundreds of times. I put my hand on the Bible. I've sworn on my dead mother's grave. I've sworn on the lives of my children. I will never drink or drug again, and I meant it. And everybody around me knew I meant it too.
Right.
But then the next thing you know, I'm gone.
Gone.
And where is he? And then the next thing you know, the sun's coming up, and I got the dope coming out of my pores, and I'm thinking, oh man, I hate myself, right? I hated myself for all the harm I had caused to my family and to my loved ones. And along the way, we had our first son, Devin, and then Donna got pregnant with our second son, Brandon. Right, and we were pretty excited, right?
Yeah.
We had a 3-year-old boy at home and a new son en route. And then at about the 7-month mark, Donna said, something's wrong. The baby's not moving. So we went to, I like my version. I said, well, we were going to natural childbirth because we're kind of hippie-ish, a little counterculture. And Donna reminds me, no, it's because we were uninsured. And we were going to Phoenix Memorial Hospital down in the hood, right?
Okay.
And so we go down to that hospital.
19th and Bethany?
No, it's 7th Avenue and
Got you.
Lower Buckeye.
Got you.
Right, nice neighborhood.
Yep.
And so we go there and they do an ultrasound. And they come back and they say, we're so sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Murphy, but your son's dead. And then they turned to Donna and they said, in keeping with the natural order of things, you need to carry this dead child to term. And at some point you will go into labor naturally and then you'll give birth, right? So think about that. We walked out of that hospital, no counsel, no clergy. And first thing we did is we went to my sister Rita's house. She's like the safe, sacred space in the family, right? Where everybody goes when you're really wounded,
Yeah.
We go to Rita's and I go, what do you have to drink? She goes, I don't really keep alcohol. And she had a bottle of Tia Maria. That's all there was, right? Terrible. I poured that whole bottle down my throat. Wow. I had no idea the reaction I was having to this pain, right?
For sure.
I was reacting like I did as a little boy when my mom said, get out of here, you make me sick.
Yeah.
I was reacting like I was every time I had a failure in business, every time that things in my life didn't work out. And I had come to know a lot of failures along with a lot of successes, because that's really a tough thing when you get good at building up a life.
Absolutely.
And then tear it to the ground and starting over again was becoming my specialty. I slammed that liquor and I couldn't get enough of it in me. And we went home, and our little 3-year-old was like, why are mom and dad crying all the time?
Yeah.
And everywhere we go, Kristen, everybody would say, is it a boy or a girl? Have you decorated the room yet? Are you going to teach him to play ball? And we stopped answering those questions. They were just too difficult, right? And then finally, about a month and a half later, Donna said they have to induce labor. Now, in my mind, she said we need to induce labor. What Donna corrected me was what she said, if they don't take this baby, I'm going to kill myself.
Yeah.
Right? She just could not take one more day of having a dead baby in her womb, right? I could never understand what she went through in a million years.
Absolutely.
But the worst part of the story is we went down. And, you know, just as an addict and alcoholic, the world blames us for everything.
Right.
Because you're a drug addict, because you're an alcoholic. But, you know, the world injures us too. Yeah. But yet it's like the disease cuts my tongue out of my mouth. I can't protest about anything because somebody may call me out on my getting high, right?
Yeah.
And so they took us and they put me and Donna across from the nursery where all the live babies were. Jesus. So literally not much further than the distance between us, maybe twice that distance. People were going to the glass all day to see their babies while Donna was going through pushing to give birth. So finally, after like 8 hours of labor, Brandon is born. They wrap my dead son up and they tried to hand him to me, and I backed up and I wouldn't take him. And I left my son's body.
Wow. Man.
And then a week later, I left my unemployed wife and my 3-year-old son, and I fled the state with another woman. Who would do that? Now, Kristen, you've known me for a lot of years, and you know what kind of a husband and father. I'm wearing my grandpa socks. You know what kind of a man I am.
Yeah.
People that know me can't imagine
you being like that.
Yeah, how could I be so unfeeling? But what it is that the disease had killed my ability to feel even my own wife and kids' tears. Right. All I could think about was myself, right? In the big book, it says selfishness, self-centeredness, that we think is the root of our problem. Right. I had no idea what was wrong with me. But so now you understand, as time went by, I'm living with this other woman out of state, but I love Donna. Yeah. And so we got back together, and we had another son, Brian.
Okay.
And, you know, he's a beautiful son. He actually lives right across the street from me.
I know, and you get
my grandbabies. It's pretty cool, but it is such a, you know, such a shameful thing. But me and Donna could never talk about that. We got back together, but it was too hot to touch. Like, how do you talk about that?
Right. You just shove it under the rug?
We tried to.
Okay.
And then when I got to go to treatment, because you had asked about that, I got to go to treatment, and we were sitting in family counseling, and there's all the families together, and they go, is there anything else you want to talk about? And I said, I don't know, we'll put my hand up. I said, I want to talk about Brandon.
Right.
And they looked, they go, Brandon, Devin and Brian have been here every weekend, because at that treatment center, they encourage family stuff like Crossroads does. You know, it encourages rec and building up of the person, the whole person, not just the addict. Right. And so I was getting to experience some of that, and so I told them the story. And they said, all right, what we want you to do is we want you and Donna to write Brandon a letter and tell him why you're in treatment. And we wrote that letter. Gotcha. And we cried like babies, but we talked about it for the first time, right? Right. And then we show up the next day, and they go, do you have the letter? And we go, yeah. And they go, well, we're going to have a funeral for your son. Wow. And so I go, what? And they go, yeah. They go, have you ever been to a Dixieland jazz funeral? We go, no. And they go, well, follow us. So there were patients and all the family group participants, and we walked across the campus, and they played invisible instruments. And the song they played was this. Do, 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 do. Well, when the saints go marching in. Wow. And we followed these people, literally strangers to us, into this chapel. And we got on our knees at the altar. Yeah. And sitting on the altar was this big wooden box with a slot and a lock on it. And it's called the God box.
The God box.
And we took that letter, and Donna kissed it, and I kissed it, and we buried our son in the rooms of recovery, right? Now, I got to add to this story, though. Wow. So this is going to blow your mind. That was in June of, so I was in treatment the last part of May through June of 1991. Yeah. So a few months ago, that treatment center closed. It had been here in the valley for 40 years, and they'd done a great deal of work, right? And it was pretty cool. So they closed, and I said to Donna, now I served at that treatment center, right? I went back there and talked to the patient groups.
What treatment center?
It was Valley Hope. It was Chandler Valley Hope. And so I went to CVH for 25 years, once a month, and talked to every patient group. Throughout the 25 years.
For sure.
And it was pretty cool, and I loved that place, and I love treatment centers, right? Because I believe in treatment. I don't think people can get sober without treatment. I've never really, I've met a strange unicorn now and then who went to the meetings and stayed sober, but I needed the space and the structure.
For sure.
I needed the protection from me long enough to get 30 or 60 days clean, right? And so the treatment center closes, and I said to Donna, and she sponsors a woman who is their office manager, still is, right? Maggie. And so she said to Maggie, hey, will you find out what they're going to do with the God box? Because if they don't need that God box,
I want it.
I would like to have it, right? So now it was just a prayer. I just put it out into the universe. And then about 3 months ago, I came home from my Thursday night meeting, and sitting on my counter was the God box. And I sat down and I put my hand on that box and I sobbed. I mean, I just sat, I could feel my son. I could feel the healing. I could feel the grace.
Right.
And so it's like, then I called my sponsor up and I said, hey, do you think God knew that was possible? And he said, absolutely. In God's world, anything is. Just look at your own life and your own recovery. Look at your life.
Right. Absolutely. Nothing in God's world happens by mistake either. And I didn't know you went to Chandler Valley Hope.
Yeah.
You know, Crossroads Chandler is...
I know that.
I know that I believe they had a couple locations in the beginning, and then they ended up at that location. But wow.
I've been to that facility, and
it's
I got to go
so
meet all
much,
the people, and
right.
I got to tell them the story of me and the God box at Chandler. I haven't been back to tell them the rest of the story of how the box ended up with me, but I got to tell them the part about burying my son there. And so, you know what I've come to know is that in the rooms of recovery, everybody's got some wounds, right? This is not a gathering of the well.
Right.
It is broken people who come together, and somehow in the sharing of our experience, strength, and hope, we get to hear what needs to be healed, whatever wound is deep inside of us.
Yeah.
I never knew I had a wound with my mother. I had poured so much drugs and alcohol on top of that. I didn't know I had a wound with my father or with my son.
Right.
I had no idea.
Right.
But reality is that God reveals it all in time. I was, so one of the things, if I had to describe addiction with one word, the word I would choose is thief.
Okay.
It came into my life, and it stole. It stole me away from my mother. My father had dreams of this son.
Yeah.
My dad, the one I judged,
right.
The one that I forgave,
right.
but the one who was honorable, who would then, his day looked like this. He would get up, get 10 kids ready for school, make sure lunches are ready, homework's done, get him off to school, go to work, go visit his wife at the hospital.
Wow.
Go grocery shopping, come home, cook dinner, do laundry, back to the hospital. That was my dad who needed forgiving.
For sure.
Right? And you've already heard enough of my story to know just how twisted my thinking is, right? That the disease, like it says in the book, centers in the mind of the alcoholic rather than in the body.
Right.
And I was really broken and sick. And I don't see things as they are. I see them as I am. So I'm a frightened, angry addict, and I see the world through that filter.
Right.
And so I get the chance to start to see things through different eyes.
Different eyes.
My father's dad left him when he was 2. Right? He was 2 years old and abandoned by him. And my dad, my real name is Terrence.
Okay.
Terrence Xavier Murphy, right?
Okay.
Terrence X. And so when my dad was a little boy, abandoned by his father, sometimes he would sleep in the streetcars in New York to stay warm at night. I mean, he had a hard life, but he never complained.
Yeah.
And he would read these comic books, and there was a comic book hero who was a fictional World War I pilot named Terrence X. And he loved that. And so when he met my mom, and she wanted to have a bunch of kids, he said, I want to name one Terrence X. Well, she didn't really like that name. So
Yeah.
there was John, and then Jim, and then Brian, and then Michael. And then finally she relented and gave up.
Gave him a Terrence.
Gave him a Terrence X. And then instead of being his hero, I became a nightmare.
Right. Wow.
So the healing that's occurred in the relationship between me and my father from beyond the grave with me and my mother and even my son Brandon, like I was talking to you about. So your guest today sees dead people, right? I guess. I mean, the reality is that the only, and in the big book, in the 10th step, it says we've entered the realm of the spirit.
Right.
And the only thing that limits the power of recovery to go deep into my wound and heal whatever needs to happen is me and my willingness to say, all right, I'm open to it.
Right.
Right? Because the healing has begun.
Yeah.
And it's continuing on. I don't know what else needs to heal in my life and time.
Right.
I was 15 years sober. And by now, the thief had taken everything, my love of running, everything. So I decided I'm going to start running again.
Okay.
For my 50th birthday was coming up, and I thought, somebody said, what are you going to do for your 50th?
You're going to run a marathon.
Men are immature, right? Sometimes they want, vet, they want whatever they want.
Right.
What I wanted was, I said, I'm going to go run a marathon.
Yes.
And so my friends, they go, why not a half? I go, you don't know my story. I never did a half.
I never did half.
I always did all of it.
Go big or go home.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So I did the work and I put in the training. Now, my normie friends said, are you out of your mind, dude? What are you doing? Have you ever ran before? And I go, yeah, once upon a dream, a little boy used to chase the clouds.
Right.
But, recovery is a process. It was like I was digging my grave my whole life.
Right.
And recovery is a process of emptying the grave.
Amen.
Today I think my grave's empty, right? The only thing it's waiting for is me whenever my time comes. And whenever that time comes, it's cool because I already had my prayer answered. You want to know my one prayer I had?
What was it?
From the moment I got sober. It was that I would live long enough for my sons to get through high school. It was because I did not want them to know that wound, man, of losing their parent. And man, the people that we encounter in sponsorship are some of the most wounded people. And if we just listen to their stories, we can find out what needs to be healed in them and then point them towards a power that can then get in there and give them that healing. Right? So I'm 15 years sober. I'm running up at South Mountain.
Yeah.
It's the morning, the sun's coming up. It's a glorious day, and I'm running strong. I'm 15 years sober, so I'm 50 years of age. I'm blazing the trail. This giant coyote crosses right in front of me, and he stops on a rock outcropping overlooking the city of Phoenix and puts his chest out, like looking, and I just stopped, and the tears started going, and I thought, wow, look at this. That's a sign from God. I see, I'm always looking for the good in the God and finding it, right? So I saw the good in the God in that moment. And then I started running again when it left.
Yeah.
And I said, well, God, thank you for my recovery. At least all of my amends are done.
Right.
And then I heard, what about those guys you screwed over in Germany?
You're like, shit.
And then I thought, well, I don't even remember their names. Then I hear Curry and Dean. I don't remember their ranks, E4 and Spec 5. Whoa. Right away.
Yeah.
And then the next thing that hits is it goes, I go, well, at least that's it. And I'm thinking to myself, I had a friend of mine just die of an overdose, and he was an instrumental man in recovery in the Valley. He had done more to help people than probably anybody that's ever been in the Valley. And this guy was just on fire, but then he got injured and he started taking pills, and the pills took him. Yeah. And I realized in that moment on that mountain that man had encountered a moment just like that in his own life. Right. But instead of dealing with it, he put it under the rug. And so I just said a prayer right there. God, please let me remember this. It wasn't like you had phones where you could take notes. It was different. The phones were big.
Bricks.
And so God, please let me remember this when I get to the bottom of this hill, so I can call my sponsor and I can start the process of trying to find those men to make right the wrong that I've done. But what the trip was is that it took 30 years from the time that I had acted so horribly against these two men. It took 30 years and 15 years of recovery for it to reach my conscious mind. And it took 30 seconds for my mind to spit out a list. They can sue you. You'll lose everything you've worked for. Leave it alone. It spit out this giant list to leave it alone. And I knew that was my disease talking.
Right.
And so God just let me hold on to this thought till I get to the bottom of the hill.
Did you get to make that amends?
You know what? I did the best I could to make the amends.
Right.
I solicited all of my paperwork from being in the military in Germany, and everything that came back was redacted. There was nothing more I could do. Wow. But then I was speaking at a meeting with 20-some years sober, and the guy was in the audience.
Stop.
And he came up to me. He was a newcomer who had been bussed out by the Back to Life program that used to exist in Phoenix, where they would go to LA and pick up the homeless.
Oh,
he was one of them.
Gosh. It's all God.
It's all God.
It's all God.
You know, so we really should be, right, creating our own journals, our book of miracles, if you will, to see.
You're big on putting pen to paper.
Yeah, I am. I'm big on prayer, meditation.
Absolutely.
And, you know, just like it says in the 12 and 12, it says prayer, meditation, and self-examination. Each taken separately bring about a lot of good. But when they're logically related and interwoven, they form an unshakable foundation for life. And as my dear old friend Howard Polans used to say in his Elmer-fied voice, but who really wants an unshakable foundation? You know, I want one.
For sure.
I want one. I've needed one, Kristen. I've needed one more in this past month than I probably have in the past 20 years.
Wow.
You know, life happens here, right? It doesn't matter how long you're sober. The hits keep coming. Sometimes the challenges of walking clean and sober without knocking the edge off of your irritations or your agitations or whatever it is.
Yeah.
This is real stuff. You know, I work my recovery hard. People go, why do you do so much? Because that's what it requires.
What it requires, for sure.
You know, that's what's needed for me to be able to experience the love that surrounds me.
Yeah. Because
the minute I get shut off from the love for whatever it is, I can be walking clean and sober, irritated, unhappy, and I didn't get sober for that. You know, the book promises happy, joyous, and free, not restless, irritable, and discontent.
For sure.
But I don't think anybody ever stays happy, joyous, and free without a tremendous amount of work. And sometimes, even when you're doing the work, it seems like it's not enough.
Right. So what does life look like today?
Well, let's see.
47 years of marriage.
Wild.
Grandkids.
Right, wild. So I will tell you this. My smoking hot wife, Donna, she is that too, right? Yeah. She's so beautiful. And I tell her that all the time. So before I came here, I made the bed like I do every morning. Right. And I make the bed as a meditation of love. And where I got that was from somebody else in recovery.
Yeah.
We were up on Piestewa Peak doing some scout work for the Piestewa Peak Challenge, which was a fundraiser for recovery.
Yeah.
And so I go there all the time because I go to Crossroads a lot over the years to work with men. Then I go run or climb the mountain.
Yeah.
And we're up on the mountaintop, and my buddy says to me, you know, sometimes I make the bed as a meditation of love, and I just call into my consciousness how grateful I am that me and my wife made it through our addiction.
Everything that you did.
And I thought, oh, that's nice for you. You know, but that's not my jam.
Right.
But I got home that Saturday morning, and the sun was shining like a beam of light on the unmade bed.
It's gone.
And I go, okay, I got the picture.
Okay, God.
So I made the bed, and I called to mind how grateful I am that we made it through this.
Right.
You know, what a testament to the power of God, to the power of recovery, because it's been me working my program and Donna working hers, and me not working Donna's program that works, right? Because whenever I try to work her program, it doesn't work, right? And so I make the bed, and then she comes home, and all day I'm waiting for, like, hey,
thanks
where's my cookie?
Right,
where's my cookie? All the good I just did.
You need that positive affirmation.
Yeah, and she doesn't say a word all day. So we're getting ready to go to bed that night, and I said, hey, Donna, I said, did you notice I made the bed? And she goes, oh, that's nice. I meant to tell you thank you, but I was really busy with a bunch of stuff today. And I said, no, Donna, you know, in some cultures, it's customary to say thank you when someone does something nice.
Right.
And so she looked at me and she said, thank you. She goes, I've been making that bed every day for 25 years, and I've never once needed a thank you, but thank you. And that's when I learned thank you and fuck you were synonyms, because that was a straight up fuck you. And she was so right. But before I came here today, I made the bed. Yeah. And I called to mind how grateful I am. Right. When she woke up this morning, and I woke up, it was a little after 5, and she looked at me, and I looked in her eyes, and she smiled, and so did I. And I thought, man, that's nice to wake up. Now, it's not like we were born into a love affair.
Right.
Those things don't exist. That's how Disney screwed the world by telling you that I met you somewhere upon a dream. Right. We're relationships that are just like gardens, and they're just like recoveries. You have to work at them.
Right.
And so no matter how beautiful a garden is, it can give you a harvest. You can feed your family and your friends off it. But if you don't care for it, next year, all you're getting are weeds. Right? So we tend to the garden. And so I know what my job is, right? My job is to take care of my own emotional, spiritual health.
Yeah.
If I do that, Donna does her thing, and then we get to meet in the middle.
Amen.
And then as a result of that, we have sons and granddaughters and circles of friends that come out from there that get to be beneficiaries of the love that we share.
For sure.
And
man,
it's a trip living that way, right? So then what I do every morning is me and Donna, we walk our dogs, and then every morning I walk across the street with my wife and go get my 2 youngest granddaughters. Yeah. And I walk them and other girls in the neighborhood and kids in the neighborhood. They all come to our house, and we walk them all to school.
I love it.
And it's like, what a deal. But if I don't stay connected to my recovery,
all that
becomes a chore.
For sure.
Instead of a gift.
Right. Absolutely. Real quick, though, I want to talk about the recovery portion of you. You get into CA, and you've been everywhere speaking, like literally all over the world. And Donna goes with you.
Yes, always.
And Donna, like I said in the beginning, like Donna's a normie, so she didn't, she could stop. We couldn't. She helped start Konon.
Yeah.
She started it.
Yeah. She started it here in Arizona along with Bonnie Amelot, who you mentioned.
I love Bonnie.
Yeah, she was a sweetheart.
Yes, she was. And these are the things that you guys get to do together today.
Yeah, we get to do them together, but like you said, we were talking earlier, the World Convention for CA was last weekend in Florida. Well, I had a chance to babysit. So the World Conventions happen every year. I have met so many widows and orphans of recovery. And what I mean is people that, I got to go to my recovery. Yeah, I go to my recovery, but it's not an excuse. My granddaughters need to know that they're as important as the newcomer is.
Absolutely.
And so we have that understanding in our lives. And we've been able to go all over the world. And Donna has helped start Konon Family in other countries.
Right.
And so it's a trip when I get to watch this happen.
For sure.
And we've been in mainland China where we were at the second ever AA convention.
Yeah.
And it was pretty cool, right? And I got to speak at it. And they're translators. And it was mind-blowing to see it because China is just like AA was in the 1930s. There's only like 10 meetings in all of China. The rest are all on Zoom. But it's a growing fellowship. It's really exploding, right? And there's some remarkable people that are doing some work back there. Alex, Ivy, Truman, these people are like, they are like Bill and Bob and AA number 3 that are out there on their own dimes. Some of them live in China, in Hong Kong, and one in Kansas City. And they do all this work to try to carry the message. So we're there. And they said, all right, Donna's going to lead the Al-Anon program. Are there any Al-Anons here to go with her? And literally 50 people got up.
Wow.
Dads, moms, children.
Right.
People had ridden trains for days because they heard that AA was there and there was hope for their families, because they were born into a country where there is no freedom of speech or internet, and that AA is brand new. And when we were at this convention, the Minister of Health came and sat next to me, and I spoke about the traditions. And then when I was done, about how they had nothing to worry about, that we have no opinion on outside issues. We're here for one thing, and that's recovery. We don't care how they run the government. We just want a chance to help the alcoholics and addicts in their country who are strung out like we were strung out.
Right.
And so I deliver a passionate share. He connects with it, and then he gets up there and he says, I bring greetings from the one, right, which is the president of China, right, the chairman. And then he says, what we have discovered is that we have people's hospitals. They're asylums. There are no treatment centers. You go into the asylum behind bars. I've got photographs, I got to show them to you, of taking pictures at the addicts and alcoholics through the bars. And so that's where you go.
Wow.
And so he said, what we have discovered is that the people, the volunteers from AA who come into the prisons, into the people's hospitals to do the H&Is, the people that attend those meetings only come back as volunteers, not as drunks and addicts again.
I love it.
And he said, so we support the movement of Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous and Cocaine Anonymous completely. And the whole room is lined with doctors in white coats. And I'm like, whoa, what a moment is this? And so, Donna, we're done with all that stuff. I'm looking, where's my wife, right?
My wife?
So I go downstairs to try to find her, because that's where the Al-Anon program was. And there's my beautiful wife sitting there. And she's got a Chinese lady with her head on each shoulder, and an interpreter, and all these families and children sleeping. And they've been going for hours because they had never met another human being who had experienced what Donna had experienced. And that is that families can heal from this horrible disease. Because she watched her knight in shining armor turn to rust. She watched her husband, I was 140 pounds in gray when I got sober. Kristen, I'm 207 pounds this morning. You know what? I mean, she was the first person that they had ever met who really understood how they felt. The hopelessness of feeling, watching your loved one steal from you, watching your loved one rob you, watching your loved one drink and drug themselves into such a state of suffering they just can't comprehend it, and their love isn't enough to save them.
Wow.
So we've had these things, and the reason we travel together is, first off, I'm too handsome to travel alone, but that's a joke. But the reality is that I didn't get sober to not be with her.
Right.
And so I don't speak as much as I could.
Right.
I speak whenever we get the chance to do something cool together.
Absolutely.
You know, and then we'll go do relationship workshops and talks and try to share with us. Because here's the thing, we've counseled so many couples over the years. So in the book, it says we cannot keep it unless we give it away. And what a way to give it away, right?
Right.
This.
Yeah.
You talk about a force multiplier. That's what this is. Recovery on Air is a force multiplier, right? Because so many more people get to hear that message.
For sure.
And so, you know what? We go together because I don't want to have that separation.
Right.
You know, like you and Ian.
Yeah.
You two are the king and queen of recovery to me, man. I see the pictures of you guys. I just go, you're both so relatable. You both look quite different than me, you know, so it's a beautiful
It's
thing.
amazing. It's all God, though, you know?
It's all God, but it's also our work.
Absolutely.
So when I got sober, I was in treatment, and I was just so discouraged. Right?
Yeah.
I looked at my life, 35 years old, a wife and 2 kids at home.
Yeah.
I've been bankrupt, repoed. There's all the wounds of the past. And then I got a letter from my employer when I was in treatment, well, a 4-word note, and it said, Terry Murphy, fuck him. I had inquired whether I still had a job, so I'm unemployed, and I'm looking at, I know I'm already behind on the house a couple months, behind on the car, rebuilt credit, now I'm destroying it again. And it was like, I'm here, and a good life looked like it was a million miles away. And between me and that good life, it was like a mountain of shit. Problems, wounds, finances. So I was just so distraught. And I was sitting there thinking, how on earth am I ever going to get over that? And then I heard myself, in the best of conditions, I'm not that good a manager. How am I ever going to make this right? You know, here I am in a treatment center, and it's just bad. And I heard God, and I saw his hands. Right? And I never saw his face, but I saw his hands. And he held up one finger, and he said, Terry, you don't need to worry about any of that. All you have to do is one thing. And then he started poking, like I am, poking his index finger in the palm of his hand. And you see how it makes that little dent, right? I'm watching that in God's hand. And he says, all you have to do is you keep your relationship with me and your recovery at the center of your life, and I'll take care of the rest. Else will take. And then right away I thought, okay, what's my part? Being here with you is my part. Hitting my knees this morning when I woke up and said, good morning, God, I love you. Please keep me clean and sober just for today, like I do every morning. And then, you know, I could get on my knees at night and do my nightly review. I can work with others. I can read the literature. I read 9 pages out of the big book today.
You're doing your 21
book challenge.
Yep.
I know what I can do. I can get a job, and I can work when I'm at work. But I can't undo my finances unemployed in a treatment center. I can't make my wife love me again. I can't make my children respect me. I can't bring back my mother and father and son from the grave. I can't make my brothers and sisters feel close to me again, because they were all so sick of me that when I would show up at a barbecue, they would all start to leave, the ones I was closest with, because
they're like, oh shit, here he comes.
They didn't want to tell me,
For sure.
And so I knew what I couldn't do. And then the last thing that God said to me was, he said, Terry goes, you just do your one thing. You do the work, I'll do the worrying. And then he said, by the way, a lot of people like to do my part. Just know I won't do your work. And that was like this vision. That
You're like,
It was like, but I had a path forward there, right? I knew what I could do. And so that's what I've been doing every day since. And that's how I have 35 years. Because I've walked through the fires of hell. I've walked through addiction with one of my sons. I've walked through the most terrifying birth of Nora, and her being born with a severe disability, and at one point telling us that the baby had a broken leg in the womb, and that she was going to live only a few years, and that she had brittle bone and all the, I mean, how do you deal with that? But what I did is I sat there in the backyard with my youngest son the night they gave him the diagnosis of brittle bone disease. He was devastated. He's a researcher. He works for ASU. And he looked up and he saw that the divorce rate was almost 100% with that disease. Because you go to change the baby's shirt and you break its arm, and like, people don't know how to handle, It's hard to handle pain in a relationship, right? Whatever it is, adjusting to our kids, the teenagers, whatever, it's hard. And so he said, Dad, I don't want to lose my wife and my other daughter. I don't want to go through this. And I told him, I said, son, the one thing I can do in this situation is love your mother. I said, because that's the example, by being there for her. So that's kind of where I lead my recovery, It's like, I want to love my wife and my family the same way I love the new person. And by doing that, amazing things happen. And so we get that diagnosis. I'm holding, my son played middle linebacker in high school. He's tough. And I'm holding him as he's crying. And he walks across the street to go to bed that night. His wife had gone to bed earlier because she was just
a mess.
Racked. And I went to bed and slept like a baby next to my wife. But I woke up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, and Donna wasn't there. And my phone starts going, woo, woo, woo. And I pick up my phone and I look, and it says, it's a friend of ours, Elizabeth, and it says, praying for Nora. And then another one, I'm praying for Nora.
Wow.
And then I walk down the hall and I see my beautiful wife's face in the light of the phone in the dark living room.
Yeah.
And I said, Donna, I just got these messages from people. And she goes, I know, I woke up and I thought about what my mom and dad did. When things were hard, they would ask people to pray and they would start prayer chains. And so I thought, she goes, I thought it's the only thing I can do is start to pray. So I started to pray.
Right.
And I went on social media, and social media is a hellhole in some ways, but it's also amazing grace in so many others.
Right.
And I went on there and I put what's happened in our family. About Nora's diagnosis, I asked for prayers.
Absolutely.
And then it just started flooding. Like this one guy, in the name of Jesus Christ, no harm shall become this child. Whoa.
Right.
And then another guy who I had 12-stepped in the Netherlands.
Wow.
And he had moved to Africa and become a shaman. And he said, I have doused myself in chicken blood in the African moonlight and no harm.
You're like,
all day,
holy
right,
shit.
all day long these messages are coming in. And at 3 o'clock that day, the doctor calls my son and his wife. And she says, I was so troubled by the diagnosis I gave you yesterday. I brought in other doctors to research my work, and I can't explain it, neither can they. But Nora is going to be a little person. She has achondroplasia, but she definitely does not have brittle bone disease. Jesus. And she's going to have a full life. And the broken leg that we told you she had in the womb and that she was already suffering was either a bad angle on the camera, a shadow, or my mistake. I just can't explain it. And she kept telling him, I can't explain it.
Wow.
And I looked at Donna, and Donna said, I can explain it.
For sure.
You know, God doesn't always answer prayers that way.
Right.
I've had friends that have prayed for blessings that didn't materialize, right? So we can't predict what's going to happen. But I mean, but those are the tough things that we walk through in life, because in recovery, life happens here.
Life gets lifey for sure. For sure. I know my husband's called you. You know, we've been going through it, but
everybody goes through it.
Everybody
Kristen,
does.
Nobody goes. And there's the other part that people don't think about.
Right.
What's the other power? We always talk about the higher power, but there's another power. If you've seen the drug world, you know what evil is.
Yeah.
You go in prisons all the time.
All the time.
And you look around prisons and the way they treat each other behind the walls. It is inhumane. Right. You can buy drugs on prisons for $60 a gram. It's so cheap to get drugs on prison yards.
For
it's
sure.
literally, I don't know what the power is behind all of that, but I do know this. My disease does not want me married.
Right.
It wants me single.
Right.
Because it wants me out there in the field where I'm more likely to encounter
for sure
opportunity to do dope,
right,
as opposed to, you know, leaning into a partner. So here we are later in life, we are on the front porch with rockers like your mom and dad. And I really pray that your mom gets that transplant and she gets to, and your dad get a chance to rock for many, many years.
Right, and I appreciate that. Yeah, it's only, you know, it's all in God's hands. We don't get to make those things happen. I know. I'm sorry. But I really thank you so much for coming and just sharing. You are absolutely an amazing human, and I love you and Donna and just everything that you do in the recovery community. You are the GOAT. You are. You really, really are. So happy 35 years. Thank you for just being you. And if you are struggling and you need help, you can always reach out to thecrossroadsinc.org. We are at 2002 East Osborne Road, open Monday through Saturday. You can come in any days of the week, and we can help you. And we take all access plans and all commercial insurance, also no insurance. So come get some help. Again, Terry, thank you so much.
Thanks, Kristen.
I love you and I appreciate you. And with that, I'll pass. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Recovery on Air. the official podcast of Crossroads Addiction Rehabilitation, with your host, Kristen Day. Join us next time as we continue our candid discussions about addiction and recovery. Listen 24/7 anytime to this or any of our shows online at starworldwidenetworks.com or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.